you want to tell us a bit about your show first?
So my show is called Brennan Reece Everlong. Although people think I'm doing my last show, Everglow, this is my fault for naming it too similar. It's all about me growing up with my nan. When I was younger, my mum and dad used to work extra jobs, so on the weekend I'd stay with my nan. It's about us just sort of being best mates when I was growing up.
That's cool. And how do you find it talking about things that are more personal? Like, have you got a tendency towards that, do you think?
Yeah, I love it, just because, especially with there being so many comics, people can like sort of cross paths in terms of like thought process and stuff, and no one gets to live the life that I've lived. So, being sort of like a young floppy-haired comic, there's so many of us, so it's nice to pick something that's so specific to me. Whereas I could just turn up and be like, hey, what's the deal with Facebook? But I'd rather just speak about it.
It was super different. Yeah, and it seemed to be your face isn't what you're talking about.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I
mean? Be like, why is he not talking about WhatsApp? And
I was reading something about Alan Bennett, and I was like, yes, this writing is like that.
Which is weird because I've never read an Alan Bennett play, but I get the gist of what he's like, and I'd sort of like that. And I just like northern writers who like can use their sort of northernness as a strength instead of, because I think a lot of people like up here, it's a very middle class arts festival, so to come up and use glottally sounds and be a bit more northern with it, I think people go, oh, well, this is novelty.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we're having a roam around the places that you find most significant about Edinburgh. So what brings us to Elephants and Bagels then?
I love it here because when I came up for the first time to the Fringe, I didn't know what the Fringe was like, and I turned up and I was like, bloody hell, this is a bit massive. And this place just seems sort of normal because everyone's very busy. And I remember going to see a gig in the very venue that I went that I'm performing in. Like, that was the first place I ever saw a show, which is cool. And then we were going over here and we just sort of came across this, so it's sort of been my sort of like little safe house, and it's sort of in the middle of everywhere, and it's nice and quiet, and they do lovely food as well. So every year, as soon as I get off the train, I usually come here.
Have you got a thing of choice?
It used to be the same thing all the time, but now I'm growing up. Sometimes I'll try things that I don't even know what they are.
So, do you pick your venue?
Sort of. So last year I got to pick my time and venue. I was dead lucky. And then this year they said you can either have the same venue or the same time. And I thought, right, I'll keep like the time because it's like sort of a nice time. And then they said you're going to have to move up to a bigger venue, and I was like, I don't think I could sell any more seats. And then it's nearly double the size as last time, very similar layout. And they said we're building this new version of the Besides. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah,
it's nice to have one that's not like the one that was in last year, 11 months of the year. It's used to where they put the beer barrels. So I was like, well, at least this is a purpose-built thing.
It's interesting as well though, because your set and such is very central, but it doesn't feel like you've got masses of space either side at all.
Yeah.
Like, it feels you've got space to move around in rather than...
And I like that as well, because when you're doing gigs, especially when you're starting out, you're on these sort of tiny little pallets of a stage with a bit of carpet on top, and I quite like moving about, so having that sort of little area to, and especially when it's on all three sides, and not using a microphone as well, it just feels more of a chat, instead of me being like just sort of hiding behind a microphone, as I used to do quite a lot.
Do you feel your material's very chatty, or do you, because watching it last night, it felt there was very much an element of theatre to it? Yeah,
I quite like to do the thing between the two, where it feels like, I like to think of it as me showing off to my mum and dad's friends. That's what my stand-up is. I get a lot of like mums who go, he's very nice, isn't he? And it feels like I've come down the stairs and learned a new magic trick and shown everyone. So there's a bit of theatre to it, but it's a bit clumsy in a way that I've decided, where it's like a little child showing off to his parents.
Yeah, totally. Cool, okay. So I started my day going off to Scots Monument at your advice. What is your thing about Scots Monument?
I just like sending people there because it's so, you've got to go up so many stairs and then just not turning up. I'm sorry. I love it. There's not many places in Edinburgh where you can get a bit of space, and I quite like grass and all that because we don't really have it in Manchester. So it's one of those few places where you can go and you can just sit down for an hour and be out at the festival, and it's less like steps and going up Arthur's Seat, which I love going up as well.
Yeah.
Although it was a few years ago I went up Arthur's Seat just to get a bit of space, sat there, and then I just heard someone go, "Okay, the next show is about to start in 5 minutes." And I was like, "Is there nowhere I can go?" And someone had dragged a doorway all the way up Arthur's Seat, and there's people there doing a free Fringe show, and I was just like, "This is the worst thing. Just do it in a venue."
Oh god.
And there's Portobello Beach, which is beautiful, and Arthur's Seat, and the occasional little sort of corner of Edinburgh that I'd like to just go and sit and just do something normal for an hour. So that's why I love it there.
Cool. Okay. Okay, so why have you brought us to the Pleasance?
Because this is my favourite place at the Fringe. They've treated me really good, because when you turn up, especially when you're new, no one cares. Not cares, but no one knows. So the Pleasance do this lovely thing called a comedy reserve. So they pick 4 people each year to come up, and that was in 2014. And you do a little show together, and they give you flyers, and you get a proper venue, and they give you a pass so you can see loads of shows. And then so I did that, and then as a result they invite you back so you can do your show here. So they've just been really good with me, and most of the shows I've seen have been here. Most of my favourite memories are here, so it's really nice to be sort of part of the.
Have you got a top memory?
Oh,
The Pleasance.
I remember like the first time I saw Terry Alderton, and I was like, "What is this magnificent thing that I didn't know you could do?" Going in the Grand for the first time and being like, "This is incredible," because you go in these little venues that are like 50 seaters, and then you get to see people like with tape on his face or the wrestling. I love that, where there's like 800 people going crazy, and then I just like the sort of vibe of it, especially on the weekends when it gets dead busy. It feels like a proper festival. Well, not like, it feels like a middle class festival, like where not like Leeds Festival where there's 16-year-olds with glitter on their face. I just love it, and like when it's raining, it's fun. When it's hot, it's fun. I just think this is a nice little hub.
Yeah, cool. So what have you got coming up post Fringe then?
So after this, I'll do another tour. So I'll go around the country, and then I will go to Australia again, which will be fun. And then
It does seem like people go once and then they have to go back.
oh my god, it's incredible.
Is it very different to English festivals?
Yeah, where they seem to have nailed it with like the correct amount of audience for the right amount of shows, so everyone gets a bit of the cake, and then they treat you so lovely. And Australia, like when you go over, you're novelty because you're an English person, whereas here it's like, oh, there's another bloody English person. Where over there they go, tell me what it's like. And it's exactly the same, but wet.
Yeah. Is it sun? What time of year is it? April, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's like a run of festivals. So there's like Perth Festival, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney. So it gets progressively colder, but it doesn't get cold. Like when you turn up at Perth, it's hot, like 42 degrees hot.
Ooh.
Like, which I discovered is hotter than an eco wash. Like you go, this is hotter than I dry my clothes, or clean my clothes with, and it's just a totally different place. And you go, I can't believe how lucky I am to get to come over to the other side of the world.
Yeah, cool. That's amazing. Okay, so in terms of this year's Fringe then, what are you most looking forward to seeing when you have the time?
So I like seeing stuff that I have no idea how they've, one, come up with the idea, or two, how they're doing it. Because I love watching normal stand-up, but then I love going watching like the weird people. So I went to go and see this show called The Elvis Dead the other day. It's great, but it's baffling. It's a man who is recreating Evil Dead 2, not even the first one, Evil Dead 2, with the songs of Elvis. And for, like, it's at midnight, and for an hour I just went, yeah, okay. It was my brother's first show, and he was going, what is this? But it was great. And then I quite like going watching circus stuff, because my family have got sort of like a connection to my sister was in the circus for like 10 years, so we like going watching stuff like that. And then I love going watching Friends, because it feels like when we all come up, it feels like our GCSEs where we all get to look at each other's work, like, what have you been doing for a year? This.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice seeing each other surprise each other, because you go, oh, most of the year you just do jokes about your ex-wife, and then you come up and do this beautiful piece about a poet. And it's great. I love just seeing all the different types of stuff that you can do.
Cool. Okay. If you were selling your show in 2 sentences, what would they be? Why should we come and see you? From you, rather than
From me.
from someone who has already seen you.
I've worked very hard on it. That's the first one. And it's on. It's on. I've come, so could you please come?
Wicked. Thank you very much for your time.